Hello and welcome to the Stamperia Sir Vagabond and Fantasy World tutorial series designed for Scrap and Create. All of these products that are available on the Scrap and Create website are linked in the description box below, so you can purchase these products and follow along. Let's get into the tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are going to begin decorating the cover of the album. So I have my cover completely open and flat so that I can work on it a little bit easier. From this 12 by 12 paper, I've cut from the bottom right corner. This measures 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. And I'm going to be placing this here on my front cover. But before I place this on my front cover, I'm going to be placing my little metal closure piece. So I'm actually going to set this up right here. I just have a punch that's going to make this a little bit easier to keep this flat. I'm going to bring this up so that this meets where it's supposed to be. I've got my paper around my cover so that there is a border, a uniform border around it. Now, holding it in place, I'm going to first put my closure piece here so that it is straddling the band. The edge is in the center of these two pieces where that gap is. Now I'm going to grab my pencil, and I need to make sure that my paper, it actually moved a little bit, so I have to fix that. And now I was holding this in place while I move the band out of the way. I'm going to mark the centers of these holes. Okay, so I can see those. Now I'm going to take my piercing tool and I'm going to pierce holes where I made those marks. And I'm going to take some brads. I think I'm going to get the color that matches the clasp the best. And just taking this half of my clasp, I'm going to insert the brad down through one of those, and then very carefully on the back side open up those prongs. And now I'll take my second brad I'm looking for the hole. There's the hole in the paper. And I'm going to insert the brad down through that second part of the metal closure and the hole in the paper. And then again, very carefully opening those prongs up on the back side. Okay, so I've got the first part of my closure. And then I'll bring the second part in here. I'm going to just make sure before I put this on that everything is correct just once again. Don't worry about your book not looking like mine right now. I have decided to go back after doing some of the other stuff and add a magnet to my closure. So I want you to just pretend like some of the paper isn't on here yet. Before you put this paper on the back side, I want you to put a magnet on your back piece. So I have mine and it's about 3/4 of an inch in from the edge. And then before you put this paper on, you're going to attach a magnet over top of this paper. Once you have your paper on, you're then going to place this magnet down before the paper on the cover. So then this will be here. And then you can go ahead and place your paper. So we're going to put these magnets on first and then add these papers on. And I will show you those different cuts here next. So just go ahead and make sure that you have those magnets on. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply my adhesive to the paper and adhere this down to my front cover. Once this is on, I'm going to come over here and focus on the band. So I'm going to do the outside and the inside. I've taken this 12 by 12 paper and I've cut the strip off the bottom. I've cut this to be 1 1/4 inches tall. Now I cut it a little tiny bit more than 1 1/4 first so that I have a uniform border on top and bottom. Then I trim this down. So this is 1 1/4 inches. But these are the pieces that I'm going to be using. So first I need to cut a piece that measures 1 3/8 of an inch by 1 1/4. This is the piece that's going to go here with that closure. Now I am going to be placing this piece directly at the edge here so that there isn't a border. So I'm going to adhere this one down first and then I'll come back and apply my closure. Once I have my piece on, I'm going to press it up against this where it needs to go. Actually, I'm going to put this on first. I think it'll be easier. Going to close that. Now I'm going to take this and place it underneath. And I'm just lining this up so that it looks okay, it looks even. And then once I do that, I'm going to hold this in place. I'm going to mark that. Then I need to unhook that and mark that one. Then I'll take my piercing tool here and I'm going to pierce down through, if I can get this started. I'm going to pierce down through those 2 layers. I have 2 more brads for this side, so I'm going to place the first one down through the metal piece and then down through the hole on the paper and open these prongs up on the back side. And then I'm going to take my second brad down through the metal and then through that hole in the paper and then opening up on the back side. And then I'm going to use my bone folder just to try to press those as flat as I can get them. I have another piece that I've cut, the next piece of this, so that it's a continuous piece, 2 3/4 of an inch by 1 1/4 inches, and I'm going to place it here. Then I've cut another piece, 2 3/4 by 1 1/4, and I'm going to place it here. And then I have another 1 3/8 by 1 1/4 inch piece. I'm going to place it here. Now that I have my closure on, we're going to work on the spine and the back cover. They're going to both be cut from this 12 by 12 paper here. So this is 8 1/4. This first piece is 2 1/2. And then this is 6 1/4. So I actually cut mine to 8 3/4, and then I cut it into smaller pieces. So again, this is 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. It's just going to go here right on the back cover. This piece is 2 1/2 by 8 1/4. It's going to go here on the spine, but we're going to be adding some decoration to it. Now, if you don't want to do this step, you do not have to. It's just purely decorative. You can just go ahead and apply your paper if you want to. But I've got some eyelets and my crocodile, and I've got some lengths of chain here that I'm going to be hanging some charms from on the spine. So I've got 3 lengths of chain that are about 2 1/4 inch, 3 1/4 inches. So these are 3 1/4 inches long. And this is just actually an old chain that I have. I think I got it at a flea market. So you can use any type of chain you want. If I had some that was dark like the clasp, I would have used it, but this is all I had. So I'm going to be putting 3 sets of these chains, and I'm going to prepare my piece first. So I'm going to put the first one in the center. So I'm just marking here in the center, and I'm going to do this on both sides. Now I have to decide where I'm going to place the other ones. So I'm thinking if I do it, so I've got my one centered, I'm going to do the other one 2 3/4 from center. And then I'm going to do the same thing here and mark 2 3/4 from center. So next I'm going to take my crocodile, and I'm going to pierce these holes. And I'm thinking it's going to have to be pretty close to the edge because I need my chain to be able to reach into there. So I have mine set to 3/8 of an inch. I'm gonna see how this does with the first one. And I've got my eyelets here. So what's gonna happen is I'm going to have to open up this chain and apply that first chain link around that edge of the paper. And I think that's going to work. But I'm going to set one of these and see, and then we will do the rest of them. Okay, so mine did work out all right. So I need to make sure that I have mine pretty close to the edge. And I'll show you how I did this on the next one so you can see if you haven't done this before. But I have my chain looped on here. I'm going to come over to the opposite side. I've got my hole set, and I'm going to pierce that hole and set my eyelet. I'm going to take some needle nose pliers and some jewelry pliers and pull one of my rings apart on the other side of the chain. And now I'm going to just loop this through from the side and then close that loop. And now I have my chain piece dangling from my spine. So I think, let me see, it should be good where I have the other ones. So I'm going to take my crocodile again and pierce these holes. I'm going to set my eyelets next, and then I will come back and apply those chains. Just like the first one, I have taken my second chain. I've opened up one of my loops, and I'm going to place it around the end of my page here and close it. And then going to do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to repeat that process with my third set of chain. Once I have all three of my chains on my spine, I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down, making sure it's in the correct orientation. So I'm going to adhere this very carefully, and it's going to stick up a little bit on each of these places where the eyelets are just because of that chain. So I'm going to be really careful and take my time and press this down around this on each of these to make sure that it adheres to my spine. And then I'll come back also and adhere my back cover piece as well. From the 8x8 paper, I have cut the piece from down here, and then I backed it on a piece of cardstock and cut around it. Now I'm going to place this here over top of the griffin. And then I have this piece from the adhesive paper cutouts. I have put this on chipboard and I fussy cut around it so I can have some dimension on my cover. And I'm going to be placing this here on the corner of this piece. Then I have this from the adhesive paper cutouts, and I've backed some chipboard on the main portion. I didn't put it over here because I don't want to see it through the holes in the gears. And I'm going to place this here like this on this corner. Then from the 12x12 paper, it looks like this. It's just the 12x12. I've cut the Fantasy Travels. I placed it first on cardstock and fussy cut around it. Then I placed it on chipboard and fussy cut around it again. Now I'm going to take this piece and apply it here on my train, right in the center, like this. I'm going to add all of these pieces on, and then I'm going to come back and start adding some metal embellishments. If you purchased your papers from Scrap and Create and you've got all of the papers, you would have gotten all of the charms that go with the collection, and these two little corner pieces would have been in your package too. Now I'm going to be placing these here and here. I have a bunch of these left over from other albums that I haven't used them, so I actually have two more here. If you have others left over from previous collections and you haven't used them, you can do this too. But if you only have two, go ahead and put them on those outer corners. I'm going to be placing all four of my pieces here, and I'm just going to be using glossy accents to adhere these down. Sometimes I will use my 3D gloss gel medium to do this too. It just really depends on what you prefer. Glossy accents tends to work pretty well for me, so I'm going to use that. Then I also, from Scrap and Create, have these two gears, and I'm going to place this one down here first on the train piece, and then I'm going to put this one actually right on top of it, so I'm going to adhere these together. Then I have this little teeny tiny gear. I love this thing. It is so cute. And I think I'm going to place this here over top of that piece. So I'm going to go ahead and apply all of these down, and then I'm going to come and place some charms on my spine. I decided to go ahead and lay my cover flat for this step so that all of these pieces on the front could dry while I'm putting my charms on the spine. Now I have decided that I'm going to use 9 charms on my spine, and if you don't want to put that many, you definitely don't have to. But rather than putting the charms inside of the album like I typically do, I'm going to place them all on the spine. So first I've got my flatter clock that I'm going to place here. I've got my Statue of Liberty charm that I'm going to place here, and then the little tiny book charm I'm going to place up here. Then I've got this gear I'm going to be placing here, and then the dragon is going to go in the center, and then the sun I'm going to put up here. Then I've got this gear. I think I'm going to place it over here. And the clock I'm going to place here, and then the train is going to go in the center. Now I'm not going to put all of these on camera. That would be incredibly boring, but I am going to show you how I'm going to do this. So taking just one of the middle rings on my center one, I'm just gonna start on the center. Got to figure out where it closes. Okay, so just like I did before when I was attaching these, I'm going to use my tools to open one of these up. But rather than placing it around a ring, I'm going to place the charm in the ring and then close this up. So now I have my first charm, and then I'm going to just go, you know, kind of up towards the upper portion on each side and place these charms the same way. For this one and this one, the gears, they don't actually have a little loop. I'm just going to place one of the gears in there so it will hang from the actual gear. I'm going to go ahead and apply all of my charms, and then I will come back and we will finish up the cover. I do have all of my charms on my spine, but I ran into a bit of a problem, so hopefully you will not have this issue either. But if you do, it is fixable. So when I was putting my charms on, some of my eyelets ripped out of my paper. So when you're doing this, you want to be very careful. I probably should have put the charms on before I attached the chains to my eyelets, but that's okay. I have just taken my adhesive and I've just re-glued the eyelets down. So they're a little chunky. They're not underneath the paper. And I think it's because my eyelets, they're generic eyelets. I don't really like this type of eyelet that I got, but I have so many of them and they don't smash flat whenever I use my crocodile. So it's not flat enough, so there's a raised surface and it pulls really easily. Hopefully you won't have that problem. But because this is just a kind of like a decorative thing and it's not functional, I think it'll be okay. I did use, like I said, my media, my mixed media adhesive to put these down. So hopefully it will be all right. If it's not, once I get all of my pages in, I will come up with another plan. But for right now, our cover is finished. We will decorate the inside of the cover once we add our pages in, when everything is finished. So that's it for this tutorial. If you are just joining the tutorial series, go ahead and click on those links in the description box below where you can purchase all of the Sir Vagabond papers from the Scrap and Create website. I'll see you in the next tutorial.